And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. Today we are going to make one of my children's favorite things to eat. When we go out, they love the chicken gnocchi soup, and it could not be easier, and it's very, very fast to make. So it's one of those things that you could make on your busiest day and have a wonderful homemade meal for you and your family or whoever you're feeding. So we're going to get started on our soup first. Now I have a stock pot here, and I have in there half a stick of butter and some olive oil, just about, maybe a tablespoon or so. We're going to saute our onions. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started and get that butter melting. The reason that you add the oil to the butter is that the butter will melt and the solids will burn if you're not careful, and the olive oil raises the temperature, the burning temperature of the butter. So you get the flavor at a higher temperature, and that's just a good trick to use anytime. Now, if you don't have olive oil, you could use canola or vegetable oil, but in this dish, I kind of like that flavor that the olive oil adds to it. So while that's melting, I have one medium onion, and I'm going to dice it into smallish pieces. This is just a yellow onion. You could use a white onion if you wanted. I would not use a red onion in this recipe because you don't want the color in there. This is a delicious soup, and if you've never cooked with gnocchi before, you're in for a treat. It's so good. It's a potato dumpling, basically, is what it is. So we've got our onion here. Now, I don't want to brown these onions. I just want to soften them. So I'm going to go ahead, turn that up just a little bit. My butter's not totally melted, but that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and add these to my stock pot. And I do like to work right beside my stove with cutting, if at all possible, because that way you can just put it right in the pot as you chop it. Whew, onion's strong. Soups, for the most part, start with the base of onion. A lot of them start with onion and celery, and this one does. I have here 3 stalks of celery. And I'm going to mince it kind of fine. Just take your knife, cut down, and then cut it again. Onions make my eyes water a little bit. You've heard me say it before, celery is one of my favorite things to eat. I love it. All right, so let's get this chopped up into smallish pieces. We're just going to add it right in with the onion. Here it's starting to sizzle over there. Chop up your celery. And if I was making this at home, what I'd be doing is doubling this and the onion, and then when they're softened, I eat it. Anytime I make stuffing or soups or anything that has a base of onion and celery sauteed together, I always make extra, and then I get a bowl when it's softened up and I eat it. I love that flavor combination. And because your food tastes better when you season as you go, I'm going to add just a pinch of salt to this. Not much, because I'm going to add some salt in a little bit. But what that will do is that will help draw out the moisture and help them to soften a little bit faster. Let's turn that up just a hair more. Now, I don't want it to brown. Remember, we're not browning this. we are just sauteing it till it's soft and translucent. This is gnocchi, and it's spelled Gnocchi, and it is a potato product, a potato dumpling that you find where you get pastas. Let me show you. Cooks very quick. It cooks in like 3 minutes. Let me show you a little dumpling. You can make your own, but honestly, I like these prepackaged up. It's soft. It's not hard like pasta. I mean, it's firm, but it's a potato dumpling that they make with, mashed potatoes. And then they have this little, it's like a long board with grooves on it, and they take their thumb and they make the little, little pieces of it, and then they roll it down that thing, or people that make it homemade, run it across the tines of a fork, because you can see the little tiny grooves in the gnocchi. And so you want just one package. And again, you find this where you buy pastas. Dried pastas is typically where you find it. Very shelf stable, so it doesn't need to be refrigerated. And if you know how to make it fresh, by all means, go right ahead. But the prepared kind is really good. And it cooks, again, very, very quickly, and it's soft and billowy. It's just delicious. I really do like it. Now, while that's doing its thing, we've got some carrots that we are just going to shred, because I don't want big pieces. I really want smallish pieces. If you have a food processor, by all means, use your food processor if you want to wash the bowl. I don't, so I'm just going to use my box grater. Careful of your fingers. I go down so far, then I stop, and I just nibble on the rest of the carrot. Just use your large holes of your box grater, and you get a fine shred. I'll eat that. Let's move on to the next one. I think that's probably softened enough. So we're just going to shred these up. And if you don't like carrots, you could leave them out. It adds a subtle sweetness to the soup. It's really good. This is a very, very comforting meal. It's warm. It's just ideal. We love it. You may have seen it on menus at Italian restaurants. One very popular chain has it. It's good. But you can make it at home. Sounds fancy, but it's really not. I think I'm just going to need 2 carrots. I don't believe I'm going to need 3 carrots. I'll just have that for a snack. I love raw vegetables. I eat them all the time. I eat celery and carrots, and I even like a raw potato. That'll be plenty enough carrot, because that's not a primary flavoring in the soup. All right, now, back over here to our pot. It's looking good. I'm going to take a quick break, just get my carrot mess over there cleaned up. When I come back, we're going to start the base for the soup, and then we're going to add the rest of the ingredients, and we're going to make a wonderful homemade creamy Italian dressing. I'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, now our onions and celery have softened, and we've got a lot of liquid down there, and we're going to make a roux with our vegetables in there. Now I've got about 1/4 cup or so of just all-purpose flour, and you want to put that down in the pot, stir it around. You want to cook that for about a minute. And what that will do is thicken up the broth of the soup. This is the same basis for making gravy or a bechamel sauce or any kind of a white sauce, really any kind of sauce. And I'll show you in the pot here. I need to have one of those cameras that shoots down in the pot. I'll show you here. You see how it's just thickened up and absorbed the liquid from the butter and the oil and the vegetables? That's exactly what you want. Now, I want to turn that heat down a little bit. I'm going to add some salt, some pepper, and some Italian seasoning, or thyme. In this, I'm just putting thyme, dried thyme. Stir that in. You know, I like to put my spices in before I add my liquid. I'm also going to grate in, because we're actually going to use a little tiny bit of spinach, a tiny, tiny bit of freshly grated nutmeg. Maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon, if that much, just a little bit. This is one of those things I do not buy pre-grated. I always grate fresh nutmeg because they last forever and it just tastes so much better. Now, when your liquid gets about like that, where it's just, you know, thickened up and you've cooked it for about a minute, and the reason you want to cook it for about a minute is to get the raw taste off that flour. You want to add some half and half, about 4 cups or so, a quart. Stir it in slowly at first. Turn your heat down a little. And what will happen is the flour mixture will thicken up. After you get it kind of stirred in to make sure you don't have any lumps, then you can add the rest of your half and half. If you don't have half and half, you could use milk. It won't be quite as rich, but it'll be good. And I'm also going to add about 1 cup or so of chicken broth, just to kind of cut the richness of that half and half. And there you go. There's the basis of your soup. Now, we're going to let that cook for just a minute. And then we're going to add our carrot and our spinach. Now, this is one of those recipes that is ideal if you have leftover chicken. You could even do it with leftover turkey. But if you've got leftover roast chicken, use that. Rotisserie chicken, which is what this is ideal in this recipe. This is just a small rotisserie chicken that I have boned and skinned. You don't want the skin in this. And just chopped into bite-sized pieces, depending on how thick you like your chunks. Sometimes I do them thinner than other times. Sometimes I do them thicker. My boys don't typically like the bigger chunks. They like the smaller bites. They still want to know it's chicken, but they don't want the thicker pieces in there. So make sure it's, you know, about like that, about 1 inch or so is fine. Bring that up to a simmer. Then we're going to add our stuff to it. While that's coming up, let's make our dressing. You will need a blender. Couldn't be easier. It's very, very simple to make. Just plug in your blender. Take the lid off. You're going to have about 1/2 cup or so of white vinegar, white wine vinegar. A couple of tablespoons of olive oil, and you do need olive oil in this one. Some mayonnaise. That's why we're only using a couple of tablespoons of oil, is because the mayonnaise, of course, has oil in it, and it will emulsify it. Garlic, salt and pepper, Italian seasoning. And for the moment, that's all we need. Turn it on and pulse it. Come on. And it will become creamy. Now, when you get that pulsed together, you're going to add about 1/2 cup or so of grated Parmesan cheese. Turn my eye up there a little bit. And we're going to add the juice of 1 lemon. Put that in. onions off a little bit. This will add some extra acidity. I love this little tool. If you don't have one of these, they're only like $4 or $5, and they really are wonderful to juice lemons and limes. They're wonderful. They get all the juice out without any seeds. The juice of a lemon. And then pulse it again. Now I've got some mayonnaise stuck there, so let me scrape that down. And there you go. Quick, easy salad dressing. We're just going to let that sit. My soup has come up to a simmer. I'm going to add my chicken. This is, probably 2 cups of chicken or so. Use as much as you have. I'm also going to add my carrots. Where did I put my, there it is. Where did I put my little scraper? Stir that together, and we're going to let that simmer, I don't know, 5 minutes or so. Doesn't take it long. Look how beautiful and creamy and rich that looks. It's really, really good. We're also going to add a box of frozen spinach. If you have fresh spinach, that's fine too. I'm going to kind of squeeze out some of the liquid out of there. This is not quite thawed, but that's okay. Just kind of break that up and add that to your soup. This is just 1 box of frozen chopped spinach. Add some vitamins and minerals to your soup, as well as some color and some flavor. Don't know if I'm going to need that whole box, depending on your love of spinach. By all means, do not use that canned stuff. I'm not against canned vegetables, but there are some that are just, and spinach is one of them. No, I can't do it. I love spinach, but not canned. I think that's probably enough. So about half a box of the wonderful spinach there. Look at that beautiful soup. As it comes up to a simmer, it will thicken because of that flour. So we're just going to let that go. I'm going to cover it. Not adding the gnocchi yet, because that only takes about 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes to cook. Not long at all. So I'm going to put that down on simmer. I'm going to let that go for about 5 minutes or so. I'm going to take a quick break, clean up. When I come back, we're going to finish off our salad, and we are going to make some cheesy breadsticks. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, now let's finish up this soup. It has just been simmering. I have it on low. And I want you to look at how beautiful and thick and rich that is. Now let's add 1 package of the gnocchi. If they're sticking together, break them up a little bit when you put them in there. And this will actually slough off some flour type product in there and help thicken up the soup even more. Oops, don't go down. All righty, now those really don't take long at all to cook. Look at that beautiful bowl of soup right there. I love soup. Let that simmer for a few minutes. We're going to make some cheesy breadsticks to go alongside our soup and salad. I have just one loaf of Italian bread that I've cut in half with a serrated knife, and I'm just going to put on some olive oil. You could use melted butter if you wanted to. This is very, very simple. I'm going to sprinkle on some pepper because I like a little pepper. You know that. If you've watched this program at all, you know that. Just a little bite. You could use red pepper flakes if you wanted to. Then I have just some shredded mozzarella. That I'm going to put on top. Lined baking sheet, 425-degree oven. As much or as little as you like. Up to you. If you have whole mozzarella, like the little sliced mozzarella, the whole little ball, you could slice it and just put the slices on there too. That's good. Might as well use it. I've got just a tiny bit left. This was just like a 1/8 ounce bag. And then to that, I'm going to top it with some grated Parmesan cheese. Just a little bit. This is a very strong flavored cheese, so make sure you don't put too awful much of that. Just a little bit. It's my favorite cheese. I love Parmesan cheese. And that needs to just go in the oven and bake for about 5 minutes or so until the bread is warmed through, the cheese has melted. Just put it in your oven. Let that go. Stir our wonderful soup. Oh, I cannot wait to eat this. Turn it up just a hair. Now, let's finish up our salad. We've made our dressing. I just have here just a bowl of whatever kind of lettuce that you like. Whatever's your favorite blend. And I have a red pepper. This is one of those things. You put what you like in your salad. I love red pepper in a salad. I love red pepper in anything, but I do love it in a salad. It's got this sweetness, and it's just so, so good. Now I'm just going to cut it into little bite-sized pieces. You could use cucumbers. You could put the carrot. You could put anything you want in here. The soup is so full of flavors. I don't really want to add too awful many different flavors to our salad, and I just make it in a bowl. I think that'll be plenty enough. And then I like some artichoke hearts. If you've never had these are just canned artichoke hearts. They come like this, and you can just cut them into quarters, into more manageable bite-sized pieces. I love these. These are just drained. If you have frozen ones, you can just thaw them and drain them. If you don't like artichokes, leave it out. I love them. And then I have some black olives. Just kind of sprinkle these. They'll break up into leaves. That's okay. Sprinkle those over your salad. Then I have some black olives. You could use Kalamata if you wanted. And then I have some pepperoncini, which are a spicy pickled pepper. You can leave them whole or you can chop them up. I'm going to chop them up, taking the seeds off. These are just pepperoncinis. Kind of spicy, so don't put too awful much. I like them. And then some croutons, and that's it. You can add whatever kind of stuff you like to your salads. Really, the whole point of this is the dressing. And then just take some tongs before you're serving. Mix it up. Put some of your dressing, your homemade dressing. Stir it up to get that cheese in there. Drizzle it over. I don't like a whole lot of dressing on my salads. I like enough to know I, flavor it, but I don't like mine swimming in dressing. You can serve some extra on the side if you want to. Toss it all together, and there you go. You know, really, you could do this and add some chicken to it. You got a main dish right there. And then just serve a big plate of your salad. I love it. Add some grated pepper on top, because you got to have that. And you could even top it with a little bit of cheese if you wanted to. And there you go, a wonderful homemade creamy Italian dressing for your Italian salad. Now, let's check our soup. Done. When the gnocchi start floating to the top, they're done. It really literally only takes about 3 minutes. I've got a bowl here that I'm going to put some soup in. And then we're going to check on our wonderful bread. Oh, goodness. Yum. You've got the wonderful spinach. You've got the carrots. You've got the celery and the onion. It's just delicious. It really is very good. You could top that with some chopped parsley if you want to. I don't think I'm gonna, but you could if you wanted to add just a touch of freshness to it. I am going to top it with just a little tiny bit of cheese. That's the way I like mine. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. Now, let's check on our bread. It's probably done. Might not be, but let's see. You just really are melting that cheese is what you're doing. Let's see if it's done. Not quite. Let's put it on broil for just a minute. All right, now just a minute under the broiler, just toasts the bread more and, melts that cheese. This is piping hot, so be very careful. And then you just want to cut it into pieces. You could cut it into, small breadsticks if you wanted, or you could just, however you want to do it is fine. You will need a serrated knife, though. Don't try to cut this with a regular knife. You will need a serrated knife. That's true for any bread at any time, really. Oh. So just add a couple of pieces alongside your salad. And there you go, a wonderful, delicious, comforting meal any night of the week. Thanks for joining with me, and I will see you next time on Everyday Manna.
Thank you for watching Everyday Manna with Lisa. This program is made possible by viewers like you. Your support is continually needed to keep Christian programming on the air. Please send your best financial gift to Living Faith Television in care of Everyday Manna, P.O. Box 1867, Abingdon, Virginia 24212.